Got a question from a long-time follower, first-time messenger. He goes, got it just here, but I'll read it out to you. Let's get my head out of the way. He goes, hey bro, a topic I'd like to learn or better understand is, do I continue with subbies or do I get an apprentice? He said, I'm not sure if you've already done it before, but it could be a good one. So I just want to unpack the scenario here. It's probably directed at some of the smaller companies, but nonetheless still applicable to all company sizes, whether you've got 40 guys in your team or 4. Something that we're always tossing up is, do we go direct employed or do we leverage the subcontractor model? And the scenario we're looking at here is obviously we're trades and services. Do we subby out instead of having our direct employed guys, do we leverage some of the other subbies available? So we're essentially subbying on subbies. So the scenario that we have here fundamentally is subcontractors are more expensive. Now, if you can find your mates or some of the young guys in the industry that are willing to work with you or subby to you for $50 an hour, $55 an hour, they're selling themselves short, firstly, but also that is still twice as much as it costs for a first year per hour, if not more, depending on your trade, obviously. So the scenario here is to start with, I'm going to frame a couple pieces. To start with, for the smaller companies, it is a path of least resistance for you to get some subbies in from time to time to help you get jobs over the line. I think the question that we're really trying to answer here is, when is the right time to make that call and bring in the first kind of direct employed team? Now, you've got to ask yourself, what do you really want to achieve out of the business? If you are going to grow the business and grow a company and build a team around you, then you will need to bite the bullet and do some direct employed team members. It's the lay of the land. That's how it's going to be. The longer you delay it, the longer you delay the lessons, the longer you delay the lessons to understand how to do payroll, how to put aside for super, put aside for your BAS. Although you do a small amount of BAS at the moment with GST, you will need to put aside some of that cash as well. But fundamentally, what we are looking at here is that it is a lot cheaper to have direct employed people per hour than it is to subcontract out completely. Now, just to zoom out to the other end for the guys who have a much larger business, given that right now it is end of financial year, but you can do this at any point during the year. If you are playing up the idea of, do I use too many subbies? Am I leveraging subbies too much? Have a look at what your subcontractors is as a percentage of revenue for the whole financial year, or for last financial year, or for last quarter. And then also have a look at what your percentage of revenue is for your billable staff members, your employees. And just have a bit of a think about of that amount. Let's say last year you spent 200K on subbies. Could you have got, you want to have this scenario, could you have employed 2-3 people for that 200K and had those guys working 120 hours, so you get their full 40 hours every week? What kind of leverage could you have got out of that cost base? That's probably something for the bigger guys to think about. But I want to make sure that this is applicable to both, because the scenario is nonetheless the same, that it's cheaper to have direct employed people or direct employed team members than it is to have subbies in most cases. And then zooming back down to the guys today, the smaller guys, I just want to make sure that when you bring the first guys into the team, that we're not filling up the company with a bunch of juniors. We want to make sure that we kind of stagger our qualified to apprentice to qualified to apprentice. Otherwise, if you being the qualified trade yourself, if you go out and bring in a couple of apprentices, they're super cheap, absolutely, but that's going to tie you to site, and that might be what you want to do. But for the most of us listening to this, and most of us educating ourselves and learning and then on this business growth journey, we really want to not tie ourselves to site. You need to be driving the business forward. And by investing a little bit extra and getting, a qualified or a highly experienced third or fourth year, could be a great way for you to reduce your need to be on site. So for the smaller guys who want to bring in their first direct employeds, I would recommend getting a tradesman first before you get an apprentice. and you probably want to bridge that gap pretty quickly, as in once you do get the tradesmen, you probably want to have an apprentice with them as well to leverage their time so that they're not doing pulling cables, pulling conduit, tracing walls, whatever else, or just digging holes, obviously depending on the trade. But it's a good idea to move away from the subcontracting for the smaller guys and get some direct employed team members, providing you do want to build a larger company for the future. And also for our larger contractors, our larger companies, looking at how much we do spend on subcontractors and whether it's about time to bring some of those services in-house. I've spoken with some aircon guys, some HVAC guys as well, about doing their own internal electrical because they were subbing out, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a month. May as well bring that role in-house, and you can also offer some of those electrical services from that person as well. That's if we're not doing our own sign-offs. Yeah, I think that just about rounds it out for the subcontractors versus apprentices, or subcontractors versus direct employed. Any questions, chuck them in the comments below and we'll hit you up when we can. Bye for now.